Hello YouTube, Dave here again, and this is going to be part 3 of my series of introducing D&D and how to run D&D for new Dungeon Masters. Originally, this episode was going to be dedicated to kind of designing or having, ideas for NPCs and villains, things like that. But I've been getting a lot of questions on this one particular topic lately, and I thought I really wanted to, I was going to address it in video anyway. But I thought I would just kind of bump it ahead because I have had quite a few people ask the same thing, and rather than constantly typing out the same messages or responses over and over and over again, I thought I would just make a video of it. That way I can just provide a link. And what I want to talk today is about the use of miniatures for combat. Now, there's a much larger topic of using miniatures versus theater of the mind that I want to start getting into. It's going to be a video, at a later date where I'm going to talk about it in terms of experienced players. But for now, I want to talk about people who are new to the game. So regardless of what my opinion is going to be on the use of miniatures in general, I just want it to be known that if you're new to the game, it's always good to have some sort of representation for combat. Something that can kind of help you visualize where you are and where your opponents are, basically. So, if you have miniatures, and that's fantastic, you could use something like this. There's some maps that came out that just had blank grids on them, which are absolutely, fantastic. Even without that, you could just kind of set them on the table and at least have them arranged in a way that's like, okay, so this thing is roughly this far away from me. You have an idea of where you are. So even if you just wanted to do something like, this, for example, just give me a second here, I'll set that up. Alright, so let's just take that away and just kind of use that as a little bit of a setup. So you have, everything's pretty close together, but let's just say that, the lich was way back here, for example, and you probably don't want to be using a lich as a new DM. But let's just say that, one enemy's kind of back a ways, this thing is kind of closing in. You can just kind of use them, slide them as basic representation. If you don't, and if you have some pre-generated maps like that, it's also fantastic. Now, I know in previous years they did release these dungeon tile sets, so these ones came out with 3rd edition, these ones came out with 4th edition, and with D&D Essentials, they released a set of 3 master sets, which are actually really good. The Wilderness I've used a lot of outdoor things, absolutely fantastic. The Dungeon I use a lot. It's probably the best of the 3. The City is actually a little disappointing unless you want to build sewers. So if you're looking for tile sets, if you're not planning on having stuff take place in sewers, for example, this isn't the greatest set just because it doesn't really have any pre-made buildings. It has sections that you can kind of piece together, but it's not as great or as out of the box useful as either of these ones here are. Now, in addition, some of the earlier things, like for example with the Essential sets, a lot of them had these tokens that you could use, just kind of cheap cardboard tokens that do just as well as any miniatures. I just have some here kind of in a bag where I've taken them out. And even though I don't really play the game, I did pick up the Pathfinder Pawns NPC Codex, just because it is, here, I'll show you. It is full of sheets like this, just filled with kind of stand-ups, and comes with some bases. I haven't actually used it yet, but I did pick it up because I thought it was kind of neat. So as a new DM, the reason you want to use some form of visualization is just because combat is chaotic. It's something where it's easy to get confused. We played a few years back, we played a game under an experienced DM, and he didn't want to use miniatures of any sort. And the combats were complicated. They were kind of complex, and he's the kind of DM who likes to take advantage of positioning and tactics and stuff like that, and misdirection. and it was great. We had a good time, but it was a little bit difficult because we assumed that we were in one spot, and the DM's like, no, 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 you guys aren't there. You're here, and these things are, and it's just something that it's hard to keep track of. Is basically what I'm saying. Now, also, the decision to use some sort of representation kind of depends on the version of the game that you're playing. So, if you're playing AD&D, for example, it wasn't really dependent that heavily on miniatures. Rounds were a minute. You got a lot of movement. So, you could kind of get around and do what you wanted to do. I never used miniatures with this version of the game. I did, however, start using miniatures with 3rd edition and 3.5. This is the 3.5 book, but basically, a lot of combat revolved around attacks of opportunity, which you really needed to have some sort of clear, consistent representation so everybody knew. Now, D&D 4th edition was also similarly built around the concept of using some sort of visual representation like miniatures. And the reason for that is, they had their own minis line out at the time, so they wanted to cross-promote, which, if you have multiple product lines out there, you probably want to tie them together somehow. A lot of the abilities had area of effects that you could kind of set, so you wanted to have something that you kind of look at. And so, whenever I ran 4th, I always used minis. Now, with 5th edition, I've both used and not used miniatures. When I first ran a test session using the starter set, I did not use minis. I just took it, to some played with some friends. We didn't really use miniatures, but I kept the combats kind of simple, which is something I'm going to talk about here in a second. When I was playing with some new players, I had them using miniatures, similar, basically miniatures and maps or like a grid system, just to make it easy for them to see where everything was, and they did really well with it. I'm currently running an online game, which it's been a bit sporadic just due to like work schedules, health, and weather. But it's an online game, but I still at least bring this out with me, which is just kind of a blank grid. And I'll set just some miniatures up, just so I kind of have an idea roughly where, everything is, right? So I kind of like doing that, just so when they ask, I can say, no, you're, 15 feet away from the nearest enemy. So, with that being said, I think that as a new DM, a way to keep things interesting and consistent and to keep your players from getting frustrated, I do recommend having something. Now, it doesn't actually have to be minis. It can be something as simple as using some graph paper. So I just went ahead and prepared this kind of ahead of time here. And basically, it's just, a 25 by 25 foot room. And there's, I have letter G's for goblins. And then I've got thief, cleric, fighter, and wizard. So I would just kind of set this up at the beginning of the combat. And as they would go, let's just say the first thing that happens is the fighter, takes a 5-foot step. So the fighter goes from there to there. Just draw a little line. Switch the F, and then I would just go and erase where he was. It might take a little bit longer this way, but at least you would still have some way of kind of visualizing where everybody is, so you can keep it consistent. You could also lay something like this out on the table, and that way the players can kind of see where they are, and they can just kind of move themselves, similarly to that. So this is the graph paper method that I've mentioned to a few people. I just thought I'd give them a little bit of kind of a visual representation. So, again, so let's just say this goblin goes over and he wants to attack the cleric. So I don't normally draw the arrow. I would just kind of put the G right here. I would switch that to a G and just erase this one down here. So again, it takes a little bit of time, but it lets you keep track of things, and it's something that you can always do while they're describing what they do, while they roll dice, or while they come up with their their damage numbers. But this is something that it's easy. It's something you don't need to buy anything other than a piece of graph paper or a pad of graph paper and a pencil. Like, that's all you really need just to keep track. So again, it just comes down to creating a fun experience for all the players involved. So whether you decide to keep using miniatures as you get more comfortable, at least for your first few combats, try to have something. It can be as complex as miniatures and a map, miniatures and tile pieces that you kind of put together, some tokens, or even just the old graph paper. But just do something so that you know exactly where everything is, your players know exactly where everything is, and they don't get frustrated when they keep thinking that there's something within swinging distance and you're like, well, no, you have to move to get to them, or they're outside your reach, or something moves past where a player thought he was, so he should get an attack of opportunity. It's just good to have. And as you get more comfortable, as you get more used to running combat and getting the flow of things, then you can kind of start to get away from it. You could also, again, using the 25 by 25 room that I have here, may not be the best example, simply because you can always just say that in a room that's 25 feet by 25 feet, any character can get to any enemy. So if they want to move to attack, let's just say they had a clear leader, then they can move to attack it. So that's another way that you can kind of keep things simple. If you're out in sort of like a wilderness setting, if you're outdoors, then basically, have them start, within 60 to 90 feet. That way your archers can get a few rounds off if they have ranged attacks, or, it can give your other characters time to cast a couple of prep spells before the fight. But just have it so that they're an even number of movement increments away. So if the average speed in your party is, your player's party is 30 feet, then have something 60 to 90 feet. That way it's, only a few moves, and then they can get in contact in melee with them if that's what they want. So, I hope this helps a little bit with that question, which I've been getting a lot of. So these are just some of the methods that I've used. Again, I want to do a much larger video about miniatures versus the theater of the mind, as they call it. Which is something that will be in a future video, but for the purposes of being a brand new player, brand new DM, I think it's good to have something just to keep everything easy for yourself and for your players, because ultimately you want them to have fun, and if they get frustrated with the combat because they don't know where they are, then it's something that's going to detract from the enjoyment of the game overall. So just do something just to keep it straight in your head for the first little bit, and as everybody kind of gets better at getting a feel for combat, or not relying so much on stuff like this, then you can move away from it if you want, or you can continue to use miniatures. It's entirely up to you. Anyway, so that's the video that I want just to touch base on when it comes to that topic, especially for, as I said, the new DMs. I hope it was helpful. In the future, if anybody has any questions regarding that, I can kind of point them to this. And at some point down the road, I'm going to do the video on whether or not, as an experienced DM, I like to use miniatures or prefer to just use the imagination. So that's a topic for another time. So I'm just going to end this one here, and the next video will be about creating and designing NPCs. So thank you very much for watching YouTube, and have a good day.